this evening. We know that this is precious time for everybody, and we want to thank you for coming into this environment, into our community. This is a community that's been growing every single week. We have started to do these calls every Thursday evening, and it's
She's gone and muted herself.
I know. I'm trying to find her so I can unmute her. There we go. I found her.
I don't want to be on here. Like,
hold on, guys. Stephanie, we can't hear you, hun. We're gonna go ahead and mute all the lines so that our lines are clear, guys.
sorry about that.
There we go. No, you're fine, hun. There you go.
All right, great. My name is Stephanie Beebe. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and I really want to thank all of you for being here this evening. This is such a special and powerful call. And the first thing is thank you. Thank you for opening up your minds and your hearts to being on this call. We are taking this very, very seriously. We know that people need to be here, and we've gathered some very important, special professionals to help go through tools and tips on how to help each other. But also just know that this is a community. This is a family that keeps growing and growing. And so we want to help everyone to know that it's a safe place. So if you have questions, we're going to be watching the chat box. If you have questions or need to speak to anyone afterwards, we have information from some of our presenters, so you have someone to speak to. And of course, you always have the person who invited you onto this call. But know that we're a big, large team and a community, and we really do hold each other's hands. We always have, but we're really holding each other's hands right now. And that's one thing that we know we're doing okay. There's some ups and down moments for sure, but we're relying on our community to keep us up. And so we want to welcome you to this community. And any questions or comments that you have, please feel free to ask. State in the comments. One thing I'd like to ask of you is go ahead and keep your lines muted until the end. If we have time, we'll ask questions. And then the other thing is we're going to go through some different slides. But when we get to the meat of both Trisha and Lindsay's story, we'd love to have you put it directly on their face. And the way you can do that is in the upper right-hand corner and go to speaker view. And that way you can see them. They can look directly into you and you can look directly into them. And there's so much more feeling when you have a big picture of the presenter and what they're sharing. So I want to thank you for that. I'm going to show a slide, but before I get into that, I'm going to tell you, well, let's just go ahead. We'll get into that. So first of all, next Thursday, we do these every Thursday. And next Thursday is going to be with our healthcare professionals. We have a few different people in the medical field who want to share. Can you see my PowerPoint, by the way? Because I can't see you guys anymore.
No.
Did I share it?
No. There you go.
Sorry,
you
hold
go.
on. I didn't share it. There we go. Stephanie, be good. It's been a little bit of an interesting day for myself, so I know that I was prepared to go into this call with a little bit more emotion attached. So I know that was given to me as a gift, but so excuse me for any technical difficulties. Next week, though, we have our healthcare professionals, and they're going to be speaking to each of us about how they've been keeping their minds and their bodies healthy, how they're keeping focused, and different tips on how we can do that as well. So please feel free to join us for that and continue to invite every Thursday, same number, same time. Next up is our beautiful friend, Trisha Wilkins. And Trisha has become a very, very special friend to so many of us. And so Trisha, I want to thank you for sharing your story today. Trisha's going to be very real and raw. She's got a very powerful story that has really impacted her life and her family's life. And through that, it's been a ripple effect into helping so many other people. So I want to thank you for your vulnerability tonight and going deep with all of us. She does have a passion, though. I want to share this with you. This is her mission statement. Her passion is building friendships of strength, honesty, and growth. She's on a mission to find those that feel alone, lost, and who are searching for answers. But with an army at her side, they lift them up and they help them to fulfill the mission that is unique to them. powerful mission statement. But what you also may want to know about Trisha is she is from Houston, Texas, or Porter, as she just said. She's a triathlete herself, but also coaches athletes. She's an artist. She's doing online art classes right now. She served an 18-month mission for her church in Venezuela. And along with that, she's been married since 2008, has 4 beautiful children, and she has been given the title Woman of the Year with our company, Isogenics. So Trisha, I want to thank you so much for speaking from your heart tonight.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And I am excited to share, guys. I'm grateful to share. It's an honor. I woke up this morning with just my heart already pounding. And I'm going to share most of my story tonight, or at the very end of this call, after our 2 beautiful friends, Lindsay and Cindy, share. But what I do want you guys to know is that I am a mother of 4 kids, and they are my life. And because of them, you know, my whole life has been a up and down, like, roller coaster of emotion and trials and beautiful adventures and experiences. But with that roller coaster of life that you guys all very well know and can relate to, you know, I've had to grow through it all, right? Everybody raise your hand if you've ever had to grow anything in your life. If you ever experienced fear and scary moments and heartbreak, right? I have been through that roller coaster of emotions, just like so many of you have, and like the person who's going to be speaking next has. And the difference between maybe the 3 of us and so many that are really hurting is just that choice to really consciously live and start growing with the experiences. You know, I was in a family of 6 kids, and we all went through similar trials, right? We all went through similar trials of a childhood and even adult life with the parents that we had. And we all went through that life together. And yet each of us had the opportunity and the choice to either grow through it or to just push it away and hide. And my dear friend Lindsay is really going to talk about that right now, as she is a professional in my mind when it comes to mindset and consciously living, consciously choosing, instead of unconsciously just allowing life to happen. So Stephanie, I'm going to ask that we kind of forward to Lindsay first as she shares. And then, I'm sorry, guys, this is just inspired and we want to have Lindsay go real quick. So Lindsay is so dear to my heart. This woman has impacted my life more than almost anybody I know. She has a heart of gold. She has done incredible things as a partner of mine in our company, but her story is what makes her so unique, and her strength and her heart are so unique. So Lindsay, I'm going to have you go ahead and jump on real quick and share your story and talk about this conscious living that I'm referring to.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Trisha. I absolutely love you. We've been friends for a really long time, and I'm so grateful for her in my life. She has done more for me and my family than I can ever express to any of you in words. But I just want to say, first of all, thank you, everyone, for jumping on tonight. There are a million places you could be on a Thursday night, and I'm almost sitting back here getting choked up looking at all of your faces, just thinking, you know, everything we've got going on in the world, and you choose to be here. You choose to be here to get better. You choose to be here to feel a virtual hug. You choose to be here to maybe hear something that you've been looking for to just help you in your life. And I'm just so grateful and honored to be able to talk with you tonight. A little bit of my backstory. This is my family. We have 3 kids. We have Carter, Derek, and Lauren, 19, 16, and 13. They are my everything. My husband Brent and I have been married for 20 years this last November, so that was a pretty good milestone for us. And, you know, I will say along the way of our marriage in general and just starting to have kids, I really realized a lot of things about myself. And when it comes to mindset, I will tell you, I've always been obsessed. I just didn't really know it until my adult life. Looking at these 2 pictures, I brought these pictures to you, not necessarily so you could see a weight difference or anything like that, but I want you to look at my eyes because the picture on the left, I was hiding everything in my life. I was wearing a mask. I was avoiding people. I was pushing everything down. I genuinely like to be happy. And when I didn't feel happy anymore and I didn't feel good, I didn't know how to show up in the world congruently. I really didn't. And so I want you to see the picture now because it's honest and it's me and it's messy and I'm not perfect and I'm not necessarily an expert, but I'm trying to get better every day, just like all of you. And I just want you to see that so that you can really feel my heart and feel where I'm coming from. You know, almost 7 years ago, I looked at myself in the mirror and I didn't even recognize me anymore. And I tell you this part of my story because I think it's important. Our son struggles deeply with mental illness. I get it. I understand it. It's real. And at the same time, I was battling my physical health. I felt terrible. And I just started avoiding people. Like I said, I didn't know how to show up, so I just stopped showing up. And I remember being on the phone with a dear friend, and I don't know if she's on here or not, but if she is, I remember telling her some of my woes and how I was feeling, and I didn't even want to get out of bed anymore. I was just done. I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And honestly, if you've ever been there, it's a really scary place to be, and I get it, and that's passionately why I share what I do today, because I want you to know that it's never too dark, that you can't stand back up and choose something different. It never is. And that's on my heart to tell you. And I remember my friend talking to me about my mindset, and I was furious. I really was. I was like, you think I did this to myself? You think I got here by myself? And where I sit today, this is what I want to say. She wasn't telling me I did it to myself. And, you know, life happens to all of us. But what she was trying to so lovingly share with me was that I had the ability not to control what was happening to me, not to control the struggles that I have in life, but I did have the ability to choose and to react and to control how I handled my response coming from the inside out. And for me, that changed the trajectory of my life. That was really the point where I was like, okay, you know, I think I've got some work to do here. And I hope I don't lose any of you here because I tend to go off of, you know, I see pictures in my mind and everything, but I sort of saw a volcano experience. And it's kind of funny, not funny, because my son was just in the Philippines when the volcano went off in the Philippines. He was actually standing in the street when that volcano went off and he had ash coming on his head. But I tell you this because I think that sometimes when we hold all the things in, when maybe we don't know how to reach out and talk to somebody, maybe we don't feel safe, maybe we don't feel understood. I think that's the worst feeling, one of the worst feelings in the world, when you really pour out your heart and you just get a glazed look from the person staring across from you. Anyway, I feel like when we consciously choose, like I consciously chose in that point to make a shift. I knew that I needed to grow and I can release the steam from that volcano, and it felt good. I could then see what I needed to fix. I could see what I needed to work on. And I think that's where a lot of us stop, because it just feels better. We see it, we want it, it's right there ahead of us. And for a minute, it feels like it's all better. But what happened next was I looked down at my feet and I was standing, wading 5 feet deep in lava, you guys. And I had relationships that I needed to work on, you know, some that I had avoided. I had things in my life that I was doing on a daily basis and I didn't know why. I needed all kinds of approval. I was having a hard time even doing anything without somebody telling me that that was the right way to go. I needed somebody to kind of push me all along. So why I tell you that is because there is a lot to do when it comes to our mindset. And a call like this, sometimes it can feel overwhelming. In the world we live in right now, it can be just so much. But you don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to figure this all out on this call. You don't have to figure it all out today. But you can get back in the driver's seat. You can choose how to respond to the things happening in our world right now. And you can do just an inch by an inch by an inch. And an inch by an inch feels like a cinch. Yard by yard feels hard. You can just sort of get to work and do a little bit. And so I tell you that because I don't want this to seem like I'm asking you to go out there and set all these goals right now and to just go out there and crush it. I mean, you can if you want to, but I'm really here to just talk about the little teeny things you can do to move the needle right now that are going to take you towards where you want to be. Because especially in a time right now, our patterns and our habits and our subconscious, if we don't proactively choose how we're feeling, where we go next, we could come out of this in 30, 60, 90 days and be so far off the map that we don't recognize ourselves anymore, right? And our relationships might suffer. Our health might suffer. Our mind might, suffer, all of the things. And so what is it that we can control right now? Because we really can either reactively have our subconscious take the wheel when we're in massive uncertainty like this. It's going to happen. Our mind cannot hang out in massive uncertainty with the world the way it is for too long. So if we don't keep our routines and we don't keep our goals, our patterns and our reactive subconscious will grab the wheel. And that can often look like stuff that is no longer serving us, stuff that maybe we've outgrown. That can look like, our patterns can look like being a victim. Why me? You start blaming everybody. Maybe you've seen the pattern of quarantine mom who's burying herself in being the best quarantine mom that you've ever seen. And, she's going and doing all the things, but it's really just burying herself in busy work. Maybe you're seeing people that have their head in the sand and you're getting frustrated because no matter what, they're not wanting to look at what's going on. They're not wanting to even turn on the news to even see where it's at. And that's just really a pattern of avoidance. That's my go-to, by the way. I can just shut the whole world off and check you later. I'll come back in a couple of months and hope that you're all here, and it doesn't serve me very well and it doesn't work, just saying. So one tip I want to give right now is set any tiny goal. Remember, inch by inch, any routine. I legitimately started these goals a few weeks ago. Picking my clothes off the floor, getting out to exercise, brushing my teeth every night. You guys, these seem so silly, but when we can prove to our mind that we're going the right way and that we're willing to just take those action steps every day to move the needle in the direction of where we want to be, then it's so powerful how you can wake up and feel more in control right now. It's so powerful how you can wake up and just feel more peaceful. Not because you know what's coming next, not because we necessarily know how long we'll all be in the quarantine, not necessarily because we understand where the world will be. We don't really know that right now, but what we do know is that we're trying to get better and that we're not just letting life happen to us. And for me, that comes down to exercising each day, making sure that I'm getting my nutrition in each day. It's huge. And making sure that I'm having some time for me to decompress, some meditation, some yoga. I'm taking some time to be in nature in my backyard that's not very big, but it feels good enough for me. And it's just a matter of getting outside. And one of the ways that if you feel yourself sort of slipping into, because like yesterday I was crushing it, I have to say, and by 6 o'clock at night, world's biggest funk. I didn't want to get off the couch. I didn't want to make dinner. I didn't want to answer my phone. I mean, how can we be in this situation of isolation and then suddenly the isolation starts to take over? Well, that's my pattern. And so I have this thing that I do where I sort of smack the side of my leg and say, we're not going that way. And I jump up and make the next best choice, which for me meant go over to the kitchen, make the next best choice. Okay, open the pantry. What are we gonna have? And so it's not always that you have it so together or you feel so alive all the time, but it's just the next best choice. And so where do you go if you can't really see a goal right now? Just, I would say, get a piece of paper and a pen and write down where you want to be, where you want to be. And then you can make some action steps to help you just get one step closer to that. And I guess the last thing I want to say is, I think a lot, our patterns are actually fighting each other right now. I can get irritated with the victim, or maybe the victim's getting irritated with quarantine mom, or maybe the pattern of pushing everything down is getting irritated with the person that wants to knock on your window and talk to you through the window. And so I think it's so important to give each other so much grace and love right now, and realize that we're all going through this together. Nobody, not one of us, has it completely figured out. We're not popping out of bed just rocking and crushing her every single day, but together, if we try, we can move that needle, we can feel better, we can come together in a time like this. And if you guys get stuck and you're on that couch for too long, or you're wanting to avoid, here's your safe zone. I'm pretty sure anyone on this call would say, give me a call, reach out, reach out to somebody and say, hey, I'm stuck. And I think the first thing a good friend does is they listen. They listen to you and they let you talk. And the second thing a good friend does is they remind you of where you want to go. And so I would say for each and every one of us, share with one person. And if it's us, great. If it's someone that you know here on the call, great. Share with them your goals. Share with them where you want to be, so that we can all hold each other accountable and we can all be a safe spot for one another. Anyway, I just feel so grateful to be able to jump on here and talk about something that I'm just beyond passionate about. And I want you all to know that your mind is powerful, and that you can consciously choose the next step that you take, even when it's hard, even when you're face down on the mat. Rocky always pops open those eyes. And you are as powerful and as strong as Rocky. So you know what? Just hit that mat and open those eyes and look up and look out. You are still here. And it is okay to have a bad day, and then you get the choice to stand back up. And so thank you so much for letting me come on tonight. Thank you so much for letting me share my heart. And I hope that you all got just a little bit of something that you can take away and use this week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy, we're going to find Cindy on here so she can unmute herself.
I'm ready.
Stephanie,
I'm ready. Can you hear me?
we can hear you.
Excellent. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Cindy Hockart, and Lindsay just did an awesome job of not only getting me all fired up, but also of giving me a good launch pad, because our topics are very much in sync tonight. And I think you're going to find that it's not duplication, it's replication when it makes sense, right? It's hearing good messages that build on each other. And one of the things that Lindsay said that is so important is you have the opportunity to choose. So thank you, Tricia and Stephanie, for inviting me to meet all your friends and to become a part of the community. I am president of a company called On Fire Outcomes, and I work specifically with people to help them achieve their goals and keep themselves fired up, living with passion, even in the face of stuff you have no control over, like the coronavirus. So you can go to the next slide, Steph. And I show you this slide to get us started because I have a question for you, and that is, what do you get when you squeeze an orange? Anyone can just put it in the chat. What do you get when you squeeze an orange? Some of you are going to say orange juice, and you're going to be right, but the real answer is whatever's on the inside of the orange is what you're going to get when you squeeze it. So you can click the clickers, Stephanie, the slide builds. And so whatever's inside is what you get when you start squeezing the orange. And the same thing is true with humans. Whatever you have on the inside of you, when pressure is applied, is what's going to come out. So if you're harboring a lot of anxiety and fear in times of uncertainty, like the things that we're facing now, that's what's going to come out. And so think about that orange as we move on through our presentation. I'm a success principle trainer with Jack Canfield. You've probably heard of Jack Canfield with Chicken Soup for the Soul series. He also wrote the Success Principles, and I train that methodology in my classes. And there are 87 success principles, but the number one success principle that starts out the whole process is E plus R equals O. So I want to introduce this to you, and Lindsay's going to be over there going, "You go, girl," because I know that's exactly what I just said, just in different words. So what's happening in E plus R equals O is it's the basic formula for your success in anything you want to do. E stands for the event in life, and it can be anything. It could be a coronavirus. It could be someone losing their job. It could be a divorce. It could be anything at all. It could be positive things. But the event is just the event. There's no positive or negative to the event, really. What causes the positive or negative is the story you put around the event. So then you can choose your response in order to get the outcome. So as you choose how you respond to any event in your life will dictate what your outcomes are going to be. And you have only 3 things that you have control over in the universe. You don't have control over whether or not you lose your job in this environment. You don't have control over the coronavirus. You can protect yourself as best we can, and we know we're all doing that. But you do have control over 3 things, and you can build that slide out for me, Stephanie. 1, you have control over your behavior. You have control over what you say, what you do, what you choose to get up, the goals you set, what you do. You have control over the images you hold in your head, whether you're thinking about things that are positive or you're thinking about things that scare you. You have the choice there. And you also have choice about your thoughts. So again, any event that happens in your life is just an event. How you choose to tell the story about that event is really a function of the thoughts and images you hold in your head. So the coronavirus in and of itself, we all think of, has been pretty earth-shaking, and I would never argue that it's positive. But there are some things that have come out of it, right? It has forced us to change our behaviors in many ways. And so if you think about it, there are some positive things that are coming out of it. And I prefer to think about the things that are positive and the things that I can learn from. And for those of you who do have an Isagenix business, and I know that's not everyone on the call, but for those that do, multi-level marketing always does really well in times of economic depression, because it's low entry cost and lots of people have an opportunity to get involved before they may not have. They may not have had a need or the time or the resources. So I want to cover 3 areas that you can control to contribute to positive health outcomes for yourself, both mental and physical. First is good nutrition, right? So I'm not going to go through these in detail. I have been an Isagenix customer for 6 years, so that's how long my relationship with Stephanie has been, and it's been awesome. And I use all of these products that I have listed there under good nutrition, and have begun to be interested, because I'm not using them yet, in the products that are under the regular exercise. But good nutrition, regular exercise, and 8 hours of sleep a night are essential to be able to manage not only your physical health, but your mental health as well. Because when you're not having the good nutrition feeding in, you're not going to be able to have optimal performance of your brain function. Regular exercise and strength training is also important, and Trisha would echo that, given her experience with her triathlons and with training other people. So I'm sure she'll be a good resource for me to talk about what the strength training nutrition would be able to offer. I already do IsoPro, but I have not used Amped, and there's some other products I'm really interested in, so we'll look into those. And my husband has used the melatonin for years, and I don't think you can sleep without it. So that's always been a part of our strategy. And then on the other side, and now today in healthcare, I'm an RN, by the way. I don't know if I said that in the beginning. In healthcare, there's a big push toward integrating mental and physical health because we ain't separate, right? It's all part of how we're wired together. And good mental hygiene becomes just as important as good physical and nutrition hygiene. So there are some keys here that I wanted to share with you. And then I'm going to provide you some tools as well. So number one, be very careful and intentional about what you put in the orange. Because remember, when the pressure starts, what comes out is whatever you've been putting in. So I limit my consumption of the news. I tend to be, like Lindsay said, I tend to be one of those people that just doesn't engage in the news because it's so negative. I don't want it going in. But in this environment, we kind of have to at least check in so that we know what's going on, so we're not the ostrich in the room. But limit how much of that you do, how many murder mysteries you watch in comparison to self-help programs and those kinds of things. Drop out of the Ain't It Awful Club. What I mean by that is it's absolutely valid and real to share with someone that I'm having a tough day, but don't spend a lot of time there. Don't dwell in it. Don't mull it around because it doesn't help and you just sort of circle the drain. So you really want to try to choose to step out. And then use visualization. Visualization is the imagery of a positive future, which is the opposite of fear, by the way. Fear, Canfield says, is fantasized events appearing real. And so the opposite of fear is envisioning a positive result in your future. So that's an important key. Many people say, and there's a book called The Science of Happiness, I believe, which says that the very first and most important technique for happiness is to practice gratitude. So have an active practice of gratitude and really recognize the things in your world that you're grateful for and focus on those things. Affirmations is another great tool. Here are a couple. And then the next slide is going to give you guidelines on how to use affirmations. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with that. I just wanted you to have some extra resources that you could use. But affirmations are always stated in the positive, and they envision life as in the future as if they were already happening. So I'm happy and free at 133 is one of my weight loss affirmations. And you say it to yourself over and over again, and use it wherever makes it top of mind for you. So in the old school way, they'd always say, put up little signs on your mirrors or whatever. After a couple of days, I don't even see them anymore, so that doesn't really work for me. But I have them on my phone, I have them on my desktop, and I also have them in some apps that I can just play all the time, and I'll share that with you in a little bit as well. Another one is, I'm happy and excited to be earning and investing $1 million per year. Fill in the blank on whatever that is. If it's not $1 million, it could be $20,000 a year, it could be $20 million a year, but whatever the goal is for you, start seeing it as your real future, even in the face of the coronavirus, because this coronavirus is not going to last forever. And then lastly, meditations. As a nurse, meditations is not something that I ever knew anything about. And as I was introduced to meditations, it became a pivotal part of my health care regimen, because it's really about giving yourself time to be, and giving yourself time to not let everything else influence you, but let yourself consciously choose how you're going to start your day and how you're going to react to things in your environment. So go to the next slide, Steph. I wanted to spend just a couple of minutes talking about thoughts. We are, after all, energetic beings in a body that we have for a limited time, but our energetic beings are powerful. Those thoughts are magnetic and they have a frequency, and this is science-based, and you can see on the MRI, if you do an MRI when you are imagining good things, you can see a difference versus when you're thinking bad things, thinking negative things for yourself. And so it proves that there's a difference in the electricity of your brain when you're intentionally focusing your thoughts in an area that's going to serve you versus an area that's not. So daily meditation, and some resources for that are, if you just Google anything on the internet, or if you go to YouTube and type in meditations, you'll get thousands of different meditations to fit whatever your needs are. I always like Canfield Meditations because I have a relationship there, but there's Tony Robbins meditations. There's all kinds of meditations out there depending on what your personal style is. And there's also lots of mobile app devices that you can use. Just a quick moment on my story. I'm gonna just spend a second here, Steph, so you can go back one more slide. A moment of my story is very much like Lindsay was talking about. We all go through periods in our life that are painful, and we come out of them learning something that we need to apply moving forward. And in 2016, I had by that time spent over 30 years working in corporate America as an executive, as a nurse. And I had reached a point where I was completely and totally numb, and I didn't know it. I mean, I was just going through the motions. And it was showing up as friction in the workplace, and I wasn't playing well in the sandbox. I'm sure that's never happened to any of you, but certainly that happened to me. And I was so depressed and burned out that I was actively suicidal. And when something bad happened to me in the workplace, I was in New York City and got on an airplane to fly back to Texas, and I was actively visualizing how I could open the airplane door and jump out. And obviously I didn't, but it just goes to show that it can be so insidious if you allow it to just happen. And when I walked away from that event, I began to really understand that I had a problem, and I needed to investigate how to get on a path that was better for me, because that path was not going in the right direction. So over the course of the next year, I told my story and wrote a book called Find Your Burning Bush, and it's available on Amazon and Audible. And I only mention it because it's where I really lay out the whole story. And it was the pivotal moment for how I understood that you can choose what you think. The same story written in a different way is coming up in Life Lessons in Success, which is going to be released in October. And that is going to be called, the chapter of that story is going to be called Don't Believe Everything You Think, which gives you the real clue, is that you can choose how to move forward. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. Thank you, Stephanie. Isn't she a great, like, Vanna behind the scenes? The slide here is 8 guidelines for affirmation. So again, I'm not going to go through this in detail just because of time, but it gives you the framework for how to do an affirmation. And we can go on. Oh, and here's the app at the bottom. The ThinkUp app for your mobile device allows you to record your own affirmations and then play them back on a continuous basis. So if you're standing in line waiting to get in 6 feet from the next person at Walmart or HEB, you can be playing your affirmations and keep your headspace in the right place. And you can go to the next slide. Quick little exercise for you. And this exercise, if you go back to that slide, Steph, if you put your hands together, there's going to be 2 little creases at the bottom of your hand, right where the arrow shows. Okay, and put them together on both hands and just fold them up like it's in a prayer, and just look at the top of your index finger and see which one is higher. It doesn't matter which one is. If your right hand is higher, it means you're sexier. If your left hand is higher, it means you're smarter. No, I'm kidding. It's really just notice which one is higher. Okay, and take notice of which one it is. Then for the one that's smaller, the one that's shorter, talk to your hand. You can all do this out loud because you're all on mute. Grow longer, grow longer, grow longer. 6 times. Grow longer, grow longer, grow longer. Everyone do it? And then line up your lines again and see what happened. Now, if you're like me, now the left hand is higher and the right hand was longer before. What do you think? Pretty cool, huh? Well, the point of this whole exercise is that thoughts control matter. So your thoughts have control over your physical being. And as a result, you have to really think about what you're thinking about in terms of your health and being able to control your universe. Now, quickly, we don't want to leave anyone lopsided. Just, tell it to return to normal, 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 so that we don't leave anyone lopsided with their hands. Okay, you can go to the next slide, Steph. The next thing I want to share with you is this index. The next slide, please. This index and these are just going to be references that Stephanie and Tricia will share with you so that you'll have these for resources later. But this is a values index. And one of the things that Lindsay said, which was so important, is that when you, she said it in different words, but basically when you're triggered, when you get irritated, when you get annoyed, it's probably because somebody's kicking one of your values. And you might not even know what your values are. So here's a cool tool that you can use. It's called the Barrett Values Center Values Assessment, a personal values assessment. And I've provided a link here where you can take it. And essentially what's going on here is as you mature, you have met your basic needs, which is, do I have enough? Am I loved enough? And do I have enough? Am I loved enough? Oh, and am I enough? And once you accomplish those things, then you start doing things that are more, integrating in the community, doing positive good for mankind, etc. But when times of stress come, where do you go? You go right back to those basic needs, because those basic needs are what we call deficiency needs, and they have to be refilled all the time, all the time. So that's all I'm going to say about that. We're just going to go on because I'm just giving you a smattering of tools really quickly to help you have some resources for help. And this next one is called RIM. And this process is regenerating images in memory. And this is essentially a process that I'm offering free sessions during this pandemic because just so many people are in need of helping to get unstuck with their emotions. So what you resist persists. And if you try to push down your emotions all the time, what happens is they get stuck. And then you are all of a sudden reacting to a checkout boy or girl at the fast food chain because of something that they did. And it's really, something that happened way earlier, but you've just let it build up and push your buttons. And so now you just sort of explode all over someone. You can go on to the next one. The next one I want to introduce you to is tapping. This is called Emotional Freedom Technique. And if you Google Nick or Jessica Ortner, you'll be able to get lots of free resources on how EFT works. But essentially, the picture here outlines what the pressure points are that you tap on and be able to sort of release those fears or anxieties that are causing you difficulty. It's said that you can cure the fear of flying in one tapping session. So it's a very powerful tool that you can use to release stress for anything, including, all this chaotic business going on with the pandemic. And there is a tapping solution app for the mobile device as well, and it's free. So you can just play it and it walks you through how to do the tapping. It's very powerful. And you can go to the next slide. I just wanted to introduce you. I'm going to do a free webinar on April 28th called Believe. And essentially it will give you more tools to help you control your mindset. And there's the link to register for that webinar there. And I would love to get to know all of you better. And I'd be happy to share more resources on that event. And I think that's almost done. And then my last little slide, just to give you a little chuckle. May karma never bite you in the ass. And there's karma. So thank you very much. I think I met my timeline, Stephanie. Yay.
All right. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Cindy and Lindsay. My heart is so full. You guys just gave us so many great tools and resources, and we'll be talking about that again. This is recorded, so you guys will have that. Also, we're going to go ahead and take any links that Cindy and Lindsay want to share, and we'll put those in those posts as we post a recording, so you'll have those links with you. We only have a minute here. We want to honor your time and end on time, and we're already a minute over. So as I tap in how I can close and what I want to share, I need to edit a few things. And I just simply want to share that, you know, as a child, I wrote down 3 things here. And I'm going to try really hard not to get too emotional here. So if you guys can take a deep breath with me. As a child, I turned to 3 tools that I know really carried me through my childhood. And I know they can help you today because they were things that if a little young girl can use to make it into maturity, all right, you can use it today. And they're simple things. And the first thing is turning to God, and whoever that is for you. But for me, that was a very tangible thing that I could turn to, that I felt comfort from and guidance from, and knew that he lived. And the reason why I share that is because of that relationship, I know who I was. All right. I had a very clear vision of who I was. And a lot of times we're going through trial and stress, anxiety, depression, you name it, at different levels, because there's such a huge spectrum. We forget who we are, right? Anybody ever went through that, right? We forget who we are. And because we forget who we are, it's very easy to be manipulated into becoming other things, or to subconsciously live, as Lindsay talked about. But when we know who we are, we can actually subconsciously make the right choices because we know who we are, right? So that relationship was so, so important to me very, very early on, all right? Second thing is I turned to outdoors. And I'm sharing these things that as I ponder, you know, what did I do as a child to get through the trials that I went through? Because you can't grow up in an emotional and abusive home without having some tools to make it through. All right. Like I said, I have siblings that didn't all turn to these tools and really struggled for years and years and years. And so how did I go differently? Well, I turned to God. I figured out who I was. I turned to the outdoors, animals. Like I went outside, I played. I didn't realize at the time that I was getting vitamin D. I was getting endorphins. I was connecting to nature. I was connecting to things that were innocent and solid and positive, and things that really brought me joy and helped me ponder, even though I didn't know I was doing it. All right. So I want you to think about what are some of the simple things in your life that just bring you simple joy and ground you to the earth. One tool that a friend gave to me 3 years ago when I had my daughter and I was dealing with some postpartum depression, she told me, you know, take your shoes off and go walk in the grass. And I can't even tell you guys how much that helped me, because I was grounding myself to the magnetic pull of the earth, right, and to nature. And that's what I did as a kid, intuitively, without even knowing I was using a tool, right? My third thing was turning to friends. And that's why this is such an important passion of mine. And my friends are my children, my husband, people in my church, the girls that I have chosen as my circle, right? Friendship is so important. They're even my business partners here in Isagenix. You know, we talk about in Isagenix, we talk about all the time the gratitude we have for the products we have. Believe me when I say my E-Shot is like my go-to when the Mamasaurus is coming out, right? I mean, and Mamasaurus comes out, guys. And I go to my E-Shot, I go to my Ionix. I have tools that do help me physically because nutrition is so beautiful, right? I cleanse often because I know I need that. There are definitely physical tools we can have that help us, you know, tame the beast. All right. But at the same time, like, we need outlets, we need safe places. And that's the biggest reason why we invited you guys tonight. Because in a time when the whole world is isolating, you have to take stock of who are you spending your energy with? Like, who is your quarantine right now? Like, who's your family? But who's your quarantine family outside of the quarantine, right? Once this is gone, who is going to be your safe space? who do you go to when you have to protect your energy, right? I hope that you have circles of friendships and family that are great energy, that remind you who you are, and that give you tools daily to make the right choices and to kind of center yourself and to grow yourself. There's a reason why growth is a part of my mission, right? Because if we're not growing, we're stagnant. And in fact, just like mountains, if we're not growing, we're dying. All right. And so, like Lindsay said, with mindset and uncertainty, it's hard, it's scary. We can only stand it for so long. And that's why community is so important. I couldn't be where I am today without that. As a little child, I turned to leaders in my church, women in my church. And I didn't realize what I was doing at the time, but I was looking for inspiration. I was trying to positively see good people. And I was going to those places to be safe and to feel joy and to feel protected. All right. Well, you guys need that too. And we have to realize that brain health, mental health, like these are all things that we can get, you know, not just medicines and not just nutrition and water and exercise and sleep. Like there are not just tangible things that will help us, but they're real things that we need to talk about so that we have a stronger community around us. Okay. And so that we're not alone, because isolation is never the answer. Maybe the quarantine is the answer for this virus, but it's not the answer for our mental health and for our growth as people. I love you guys so much. I'm so grateful for this community. It's been everything for me. I pray that we have more grace for each other, that as you see your neighbors and friends and family exhibiting patterns that Lindsay talked about, that you have grace for each other. We're all in different places in our journey. You know, I shared, you know, very vulnerably earlier that I started EMDR. That's a big deal. And it's next level healing in my life for the trauma that I experienced. And even though I've gone through so much growth along the way, like this is next level. And it's because we're making choices, daily choices to grow, to become better, to go next level in our joy and happiness, and to free ourselves, like Cindy talked about so beautifully, of all the crap in that orange that I don't want to be squeezed. I want it gone. I want it out of my life so I can move forward free. All right. And so just have grace for each other, because we're all at different levels in this growth. We're all at different levels. And it's amazing how the person I am today, when I see the crazy people coming out, I really just have compassion for them, because I understand that they haven't started that growth yet, or they're at the beginning stages of that growth. So thank you guys so much. I know you have questions. Please just ask them. We'll answer them in messages later on. If anybody wants to reach out to me about EMDR, I'll send you some resources and what it is. But truly, like the biggest key for me has been surrounding myself with these incredible just people that are positive, that are safe, and that inspire me to be a better person every day. And everybody has access to that. So thank you guys for being a part of our community. We love you. We hope that you join us next week with our doctors and nurses that are jumping on. My heart goes out to New York and all the places around the world that are suffering so greatly right now. I know that as we just pour out that beautiful, good energy of growth and acceptance, we're going to really start truly healing this world and coming together as a people. So good night, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Tabitha. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Trisha.